Hey everybody, it's Brooke here from Anita Goodesign, and today I am going to teach you how to sew our tote bag. Now we are going to be using our artistic Triptychs collection, which is a collection that features 9 elements, 27 altogether, so we have a variation of different designs, and today when we're stitching our tote bag, I am going to teach you with our handy dandy rooster. So let's get started. Alrighty, so first off, I am going to show you how to piece together your blocks. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with our face panel, and for this, we actually already have part of our block stitched together. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to line up your seams, and for this, I drew a line in between the tacking stitch line of your batting and the tacking stitch for your base fabric. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to line up our seams and we're going to pin starting from the corner. Now go ahead and pin all the way down to each corner. And the line that I drew here is the line you're going to want to stitch in. So remember, we're stitching in between our tacking stitch line for the batting and our tacking stitch line for our base fabric. So we can go ahead and insert our first block in the machine. For this, you're going to want to remember to back stitch as you go. We're going to be folding our blocks a lot, so you want to make sure that everything stays in place and intact. Now you can remove your pins, and this is how you piece together your quilt blocks. So now you can see here that our face panel is completely ready for us. You are going to need 2 pieces of ribbon, 49 inches in length. Now the width for this can vary, but for this we are using 1.5 inches. Line up your ribbon so that it goes directly over the line that we just stitched. So you can go ahead and pin your ribbon on both sides. And you're going to want to make sure as you're doing it that your ribbon stays untwisted as well. Now that we have our ribbon secured, you're going to go ahead and take your ruler, and starting from the very top of your face panel, you're going to want to mark down 2 inches. We're using tailor's chalk for this. So you can go ahead and mark 2 inches down. And what we're going to do here is we are going to create a block which helps us hold our strap in place. So once you've marked 2 inches down from the top, you can go ahead and mark 1.5 inches down from that line. So here I am marking 1.5 inches down. So now I have 2 parallel lines. Now the next thing you're going to do is, using your ruler, you're going to crisscross, making an X in your box. And then when you go to sew, you're going to sew your parallel lines and your X. And again, this will help you secure your strap in place. And now we can go ahead and place our strap in the machine. And now we will go ahead and run stitch for our X's. All right, now we're on our last X for the front panel. Alrighty. Now that we have finished the X's, you can use a pair of scissors, be your sharp applique scissors, any type of scissors to trim away any excess materials. We are going to stitch up each side of the ribbon to also help hold it in place. So we are going to start doing that on each side. I'm going to follow all the way up the ribbon. And you may want to remove your pins along the way because we don't want to run our pins over. Alrighty, now that we have went up one side of our ribbon, we're going to go ahead and move on over to the other side so that we can secure that as well. Okay, now that we have our ribbon handles secured in place, there's one last crucial step before we move on to our back panel. We are going to fold our face panel in half, and at the bottom, using a pair of sharp scissors, you're going to just want to clip a little of the seam allowance, so that way you have a center point when you go to join your face panel and your bottom panel bags together. For this tote bag, you will have 10 blocks total. You're going to start with 3 face panel blocks. You're going to have 3 back panel blocks, and then you're going to have 4 bottom blocks. But for our bottom portion, you are going to piece your blocks together horizontally instead of vertically. So you're just going to take your blocks and line them up on the shorter edge and stitch all the way across so that we have 4 total. Now, we are going to start with our face panel block, and what we're going to do is we're going to piece right sides together. Using our notch created, we are going to line it up with the center seam of our base panel. So here's the center seam. We're going to take the part where we clipped with our scissors and we're going to line it up. So you can go ahead and pin that. And you can pin all the way across, but what I am going to do is I'm going to pin the corners. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch. So now that we have our face panel attached to our bottom panel, we're going to go ahead and stitch that seam. Now remember, when we're stitching our seams together, you're going to want to stitch in between the tacking stitch of your batting and the tacking stitch of your base fabric. Now that our face panel is attached, it is time to attach the back panel. So you can go ahead and flip this one forward. And we're going to grab our back panel and again, line the notch that we created with the center of the bottom panel. You can go ahead and add your pins. Now that we have our back panel pinned to our bottom panel, we're going to go ahead and put that into the machine. And don't forget to remove your pins along the way. Now that we have both of our panels stitch onto our base panel, it's time for our lining. We are going to place our block and our lining right sides together. So we're going to want to make sure that the whole area of our lining is covered. Now that we have cut out our lining, it is time to attach our side panels to our bag. So you're going to go ahead and grab your pins, and you're going to want to pair your corners up and pin all the way down. Once you have done this step, you're going to want to repeat it on the other side. And once you have all of your pins in place, you're ready to start sewing. Okay, now that you have that one side stitch, you're going to go ahead and stitch the other side. All right, and now that we have our side panels stitched together for our bag, your bag should look something like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to stitch together the side panels of your lining. So we're going to go ahead, put that to the side real quick, and we're going to grab our lining. Now when doing so, you want to make sure that your right sides are together. And once you have your sides pinned, you are now ready to sew. Now it's also good to keep in mind that when we're stitching our quilt blocks, we have that 1/2 inch seam allowance guidance that we can follow. We will not have that on our lining, so you're going to want to make sure that you are stitching at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now one thing I do want to notate is when we go to stitch our other side of the panel, you're going to want to leave an opening. You're going to want to stitch from the end of your corner up, and then you're going to want to repeat that process again to the top. We are leaving this opening so that we can flip our bag inside out when the time is ready. So you can go ahead and stitch. Now you're going to want to leave a decent sized amount left open so that way it's easier for you to turn your bag inside out. Now once you have completed this process and you've left your opening to turn your bag inside out, you're going to want to repeat the process on the other side with your side panel. But for this, we are going to go ahead and fully stitch those seams all the way. So you do not have to leave an opening on this end. start by lifting our bag up, still inside out, and you want to make sure that your straps are tucked. And you're going to go ahead and place your lining inside the bag, right sides together. So we go ahead and place our lining in. And what we're going to do is we're going to match up our corner seams, and we're going to go ahead and pin that. And you can go ahead and pin that all the way around. Alrighty, and now once you have your lining pinned, we're going to go ahead and stitch all the way around the top. Now that you've secured your lining to your bag, we're going to go ahead and with that opening that we left unsewn, we're going to go ahead and turn our bag inside out. Okay, now that we have our bag turned inside out, you can go ahead and either press or pin so that you can top stitch your design to finish it off. And to finish off your bag after you top stitch, you're going to want to hand stitch the little opening that we left on the inside. So now we can go ahead and top stitch our bag. All right, and now that you have finished your top stitch for your bag, you have finished your artistic triptych inspired tote bag. Now remember, if you want to use this artistic triptychs collection, it comes in 27 designs, 9 themes of 3. So you can use one element like we did, or you can use as many as you like. Now what's cool about this tote bag is it can go with many collections. So have fun with this one, look around, see what you like, and add a little something to it. And don't forget, we have our little horse over here, which is another good addition for this tote bag. For this one, we did a fun floral lining with this denim, and you can also add snaps to add more accessories to your bag. But the choice is yours. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did, and thank you for watching. Happy sewing!